Now if x is 3, then y would equal to something squared minus 2 times something minus 3. I'm going to replace the something by 3 because we're saying x is 3. So I would get 9 minus 6 minus 3, which is 0. For 4, I get y would equal to 4 squared minus 2 times 4 minus 3, which is 16 minus 8 minus 3, which is 5. Now let's go ahead and plot the two new points and see if we can see our parabola. For 3, 0, I go to the right 3. And for 4, 5, I go to the right 4 and up 5. Now it's easy to see what the parabola will be. And I carefully draw the curve. Got that point a little bit too sharp there. I'm not really good at drawing these parabolas. That's a little bit more like that. But we'll be using other means when they have to be perfect. But be sure that your point is rounded. It must be rounded. So there is your parabola. Y is equal to x squared minus 2x minus 3. Let's do one more before I give you some exercises. Let's graph 1/2 x squared plus x plus y is equal to 0. Now first of all, I need to solve for y. In order to solve for y, I need to add a negative 1/2 x squared to both sides, and I need to add a negative x to both sides. Now if I add a negative 1/2 x squared to the left, it just cancels it. If I add a negative 1/2 x squared to 0, I'd have 0 plus a negative 1/2 x squared, or negative 1/2 x squared. If I added a negative x to the left, it would cancel this x. If I add a negative x to the right, I would have the negative 1/2 x squared minus x. Now once I solve for y, then I'm going to make a table of values, x and y. Now just routinely, I normally choose as my values negative 2, negative 1, 0, 1, and 2. That's kind of a routine with me, just automatically choose those. Now if x is negative 2, then y is going to be a negative 1/2 times a negative 2 squared subtract a negative 2. It's probably a good idea to put the parentheses in first and then fill them in to make sure that you get the parentheses in the right place. Now we need to do the evaluation. Since I do not have much space, I'm going to do some of it in my head. A negative 2 squared is a positive 4. A negative 1/2 times a positive 4 is a negative 2. Now if I subtract a negative 2, that's the same as adding a positive 2. So negative 2 plus 2 is 0. So we get a negative 2, 0 as the first point. For the second point, I have a negative 1/2 times something squared minus something. Now in the place of the something, I put negative 1. Now negative 1 squared is a positive 1. A positive 1 times a negative 1/2 is a negative 1/2. Now if I subtract a negative 1, that's the same as adding a positive 1. A negative 1/2 plus 1 is 1/2. I think it's clear to you if I replace x by 0, y is going to be 0, because 0 squared is 0, 0 times the negative 1/2 is 0, and 0 minus 0 is 0. Let's try 1. So I have a negative 1/2 times something squared minus the something. Now replace the something by 1. 1 squared is 1. A negative 1/2 times 1 is a negative 1/2. Then a negative 1/2 subtract 1 is a negative 1 1/2. So that would be a negative 1 1/2 or negative 3/2. For the last one, we have a negative 1/2 times something squared, subtract something, and the something is 2. 2 squared is 4. A negative 1/2 times 4 is a negative 2. So I have a negative 2 subtract 2, which is negative 4. Now we'll plot the points that we have up to this stage and see what we have. We have negative 2, 0. So I go left 2. I have a negative 1 1/2. I go left 1 and up to a half. I have 0, 0. I have 1 and negative 1 1/2. So I go right 1 and down 1 1/2. Notice I'm just kind of guessing at the half. And I have 2 and negative 4. Right 2, down 1, 2, 3, 4. Well, I can almost see the parabola, but not quite. I kind of think I know what it's doing on the left, on the right, excuse me, but I'm not too sure about the left. So what I'm going to do is to choose another point over here, like maybe negative 3. So I'm going to come and I'm going to choose negative 3 as a value of x. So I have a negative 1/2 times something squared minus something. The something is negative 3. Now this would be a negative 1/2 times negative 3 squared is 9. And 9 subtracted negative 3 would be 9 plus 3. Or negative 1/2 times 9 subtracted negative 3 would be negative 1/2 times 9 plus 3. Now I multiply. A negative 1/2 times 9 is a negative 9/2 plus, that's understood to be 3 over 1. My common denominator is 2. 2 will go into 2 one time. 1 times negative 9 is negative 9. 1 goes into 2, 2. 2 times 3 is 6. Negative 9 plus 6 is a negative 3. So negative 9/2 plus 6/2 is negative 3/2, which is a negative 1 1/2. So I have a negative 1 1/2. So now I'm going to plot the point negative 3, negative 1 1/2. So I'll go left 1, 2, 3, down 1 1/2. I think that gives us enough points in order to see what the parabola looks like. So I'm going to kind of draw my curve here. And I get my parabola. I didn't do a real good job on that left side, but you can see in general what the parabola is going to look like. Now I'm going to give you some exercises. Carefully copy down the 2 exercises. Graph y is equal to 9 minus x squared. And the second one, x squared plus 2x minus y is equal to 0. I want you to graph both of these equations on different grids and then restart the tape to start to check your answers. So what you need to do is to copy down the problems, stop the tape, graph the problems, and then restart the tape to check your answers.